There are days where technically nothing is wrong, but you may feel kind of flat, a little heavy. It's kind of like when your phone is like on 12% and you still have hours to go and you're like, oh my God, how is this? How am I going to stretch this? And it's more of your body trying to tell you something. It's like a form of feedback. So today's episode is all about recharging your energy when it's been slowly drained by the day. It may have been drained by people, different places you've gone, work, a routine that you're in, or just being a human in the world. And we're not talking about big dramatic life resets that you have to do or go somewhere, but these are really daily doable ways that you can come back to yourself and kind of learn how to plug back in and put yourself back in the charger for a little bit. Welcome to the Happy Hippie Podcast. This is your weekly dose of holistic wellness and positive energy. I'm your host, Amanda McCormack. I'm a yoga teacher, personal trainer, and a wellness coach. So each week on the show, we like to explore simple ways, simple tools, mindset shifts, and just have an inspiring conversation to help you create a life that feels really good inside and out. So this is where wellness meets happiness. Let's dive into this topic. So this topic is kind of around the idea of charging your energy, and what does that actually mean? Because it's not literally plugging yourself into something. So it's what you do when you realize that your battery is running low, and maybe you're like, oh yeah, I jump into these different things when I feel tired. But the thing that we don't do a lot is pause and check in why we're feeling a little bit funky. So before fixing anything, because we're really reactive people, we like to just jump and do something. Just take a step back and maybe notice what might be draining you or why you're feeling a little bit off is always a great way to start, because then you can figure out what you want to do and you don't kind of waste your time on something that might not be suitable for you. Plus, I just like to remind people to pause. It's always a great thing to have that because, like I said, we quickly go from one thing to the other. So when we check in with ourselves, we take a breath, we pause, we say, hey, what's going on? We can do this by journaling. We could do it by talking to yourself in the car when you're driving or in your next shower, or just pausing long enough, like wherever you are, to just ask, like, what's been taking my energy? Like, what have I been putting a lot of energy into? Maybe what am I forgetting about? A lot of the times I'll get caught up in work and be like, hey, I didn't do the things that actually make me happy. Or other way around. Sometimes I'm doing tons of things and then I have this nagging feeling that I didn't actually do like my work. That's kind of my cycle. But we can ask ourselves kind of like, what's feeling heavy right now? What kind of would feel more nourishing? And sometimes, yes, like, duh, the answer might be obvious, but other times it will surprise you when you ask yourself questions. Now, the idea of energy being drained, it doesn't necessarily always have to come from like a bad thing or something negative. Like, you could be doing a lot of things you love and you find yourself just getting really tired. It doesn't necessarily, again, have to be a good or a bad thing. It can come from a lot. So people, as an example, some people energize us. Think about people, your friends, or even an influencer or somebody like on YouTube that you love to watch because you just feel like super energized by their content, right? So some people kind of light you up. You may have a family member or a friend or somebody that just kind of brings that out of you. Other people drain us, and I don't even have to give you an example. You probably know who might be draining you. They may rant to you about things, or they're just like the type of person at your job that you're like, every time you see them, you literally feel like they're like leeching. There's like a gray blob. They're kind of like Eeyore. Whatever it is, you don't even need those visuals. Some people drain you. They may be a great person, and in some areas, they might drain you. And other times, like, we can't totally avoid those people, you know what I mean? Like I just said, you might be working with people who are like that, and it's just like in your everyday. You may not be able to leave certain relationships if it's like a family member, or certain environments because that's where you're going to school, that's where you're going to work, or if you're in a conversation and that's what's happening, okay? So it's okay to have these things happening, but it's powerful to know that once you step away from these things, you can kind of revive yourself and bring yourself back to life from that. You can recharge yourself and find a little bit of recovery instead of kind of pushing through and you're still feeling a bit depleted, because it's real. Sometimes you just put a lot, like there's a lot of emotions around things and you just might feel a bit blah, okay? So awareness alone kind of gives you that choice. When you're in a situation, you can literally feel a little bit better about it, knowing that, okay, after this, I'm going to reset my energy. We'll be good to go. Or in the morning, if say you have like a meeting coming up and you're like, okay, that's going to stress me out a little bit, and I know that this type of meeting tends to like dawn on me a little bit, I'm going to start my day by doing this, this, and this to kind of get me into a high spirit. That being said, the tools in this episode, you can use them before work, after work, or even in like little small pockets during the day to kind of refill your tank instead of running on fumes. I think I have about 7 or 8 little things in this episode to talk about. They kind of go all over the place, so I really don't know where we're going to jump to. Some of the things are physical, some of them are more like energetic, so I hope you find something out of this list. And I'm going to go a bit more into it at the end about the difference between like things that are mentally draining you and physically draining you, and you can kind of find your sweet spot. Everything I do in this show is all about finding what resonates and kind of leaving what doesn't. So number 1, I'm so sorry. I feel like every episode I'm going to remind you about this, but go outside. We always talk about nature because nature literally heals. I don't think you're going to be able to escape from that reminder in this show. Almost every episode I'm like, these are 8 ways to do this. And I'm like, number 1, go outside. Number 2, go outside. So nature basically recalibrates us a lot faster than we realize. And I'm not saying you have to go outside on a hike every day, or you have to go out and do some like full hippie ritual and spend hours outside, or do all of your work outside if you don't have the time. I like to be realistic because I know we have a lot of different listeners on the show, and you may have a different type of life and there's things going on. So I'm talking going on a short walk. It could be like around the block to go pick something up, or stepping outside in between the tasks that you have. Another thing you can do is when you're outside, you can just focus on maybe looking up at the trees instead of being on your phone, like trying to look at the greenery that comes up. And it's very similar to that idea of, you heard about a color walk, like when you go on a walk and you pick a color and then you notice how many versions of that color you can see around you. So you can look at green and try to find green things all over. Sometimes I'll do that with nature. Like if I'm in a city, I'll be walking and I'll just try to mentally like look for different pockets of nature, even if it's in like the window of somebody's shop or in between buildings. It kind of pulls you out of your head and back into your body. So most of the topics I maybe go on for like a minute or 2, but I just have to mention, like, anytime that you just feel like you need a little refreshed, step outside. That's really going to help recalibrate you. It brings you literally back into like the world. It just snaps you out of it sometimes. When you feel air on your skin, when you're able to breathe things in, all of the elements are out there. We're going to talk a little bit about the elements in this episode because every person, we have elements that we lean towards. Some people are more drawn to water. You may be more drawn to like greenery or whatever it is. And all of those are outside. So we'll talk about that in a second, but you'll be able to quickly kind of find something outside that really relates to you better. Now I just sound like really weird and hippie-ish. Just hear me out, okay? We're going to come back to that, but I just wanted to start off by saying nature. Number 2 on how to really recharge your energy is to revisit an old hobby, because joy is a very powerful energy source. Anything that's going to spark that little bit of like childlike wonder out of you is going to like heal you from inside out. So think back to what lit you up before you were told that productivity had to be like the most important thing in your life, okay? Before we told this is what we have to do for work, this is your personality, you have to take care of your health, you have to do this, this, and this. What used to just get you excited when you were like 10 years old, okay? I have a new one. I don't think I mentioned this on the podcast yet, but I noticed that recently I was in a bit of a reading slump maybe like 3 months ago. So I started to read a lot of thriller books because they're like short reads, you know, maybe like 200, 300 pages that I could just get through. And they keep you going because there's like a little bit of anticipation. And I noticed it really brought back the spark for me for reading. And I like flew through like 10 books, and I've been just P.S. if you have any thriller book recommendations, let me know. You can message me on Instagram. But I've been flying through them, and I only realized it maybe like 2 weeks ago. But when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to play Nancy Drew video games, like on the PC. Like I'd sit up in the computer room, like in the 2000s. And as a kid, I'd come home from school and my sister and I would play this game on the computer where you're Nancy Drew, so you're a detective. And it's basically a mystery, and you walk through the mystery and you try to find clues and then you solve it at the end. And there was something about it that like was so addicting to me as a kid. And it was one of my favorite types of games to play. And I don't think I inherently thought about that when I picked up the thriller books. I was just like, hey, this has 5 stars. I'm going to give it a go. But I started to get into it, and I realized it's kind of like something I used to enjoy in my childhood coming into my life in a new way. And there's also a science behind why thrillers and a few other things, I'll explain them in a second, make you feel good, because it's really energizing not knowing what's going to happen next. Anticipation in general creates a little bit of a dopamine lift in the body. So think about a lot of times that you've ever anticipated something and you get really excited. Like if you're at a concert and you're waiting for that person to come on or whatever it is. Sports too. the idea of sports can be really addicting to some people because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the batter that's coming up is going to do good or bad. You don't know if this next inning is going to be good or bad, or this person's going to do what. Like, you're watching it because you don't know what's going to happen. If you knew exactly what was going to happen play by play in a game, you probably wouldn't be too interested. Or if you're like me and you're just not interested at all, no offense, but that's a thing that kind of sticks with people. I actually was watching a video a few weeks ago, and did you know that if your parents or like family members were really into sports, there's a chance that you might actually have the same gene because they watch sports so much that their brain is like kind of wired to want the dopamine hit from watching it, and it's like a little switch in the genes. So sometimes their children and then their children might pick up that gene too and be like predisposed to liking sports. Kind of crazy. There's also a negative connotation to anticipation. So slot machines, which is one of the most addictive things to humans. I mean, it may not be as big now, but like throughout human time, like the idea of slot machines were made on the psychology that you're anticipating something good can happen. Something bad might happen. You may not get your number. Something neutral might happen, but there's a chance, there's an anticipation, there's like an excitedness that something good might happen, that you might get like all the numbers in a row, or you're going to win big, but you don't know unless you play. So that anticipation is what makes people hyped up about it. And can you think about something else? I think I've mentioned on the show before that there's anticipation for as well. Like, you don't know what's going to be next, so you keep looking at it. It's most of the social media platforms that we have nowadays. You're scrolling and you're like going through it because you don't know what's going to come up, and your algorithm feeds you things that you might enjoy, but you also may not enjoy some of the things that it gives you, but you don't know what's next. So that's why you keep scrolling. So the idea of scrolling and moving up and down literally comes from slot machines, and that's why social media networks use them, because they know it's going to keep people on their apps. So as you can see, anticipation could be used good or bad in a sense, but that's just a little spiel. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was so cool. But that's why, thriller books, you don't know what's going to happen, or like, in romance books where there's tropes where it's like, will they, won't they? Like, you get a little bit of anticipation. Enemies of lovers is a really big thing too, because you don't know, and you're waiting for them to like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? When are they going to finally like kiss or whatever it is? It's like, we know these things in psychology, so it's like a lot of writers and a lot of like game makers and things like that will keep that anticipation in there. But yeah, it's a great way to get a little hit of dopamine if you do it in the right way, like reading a book or watching a movie where there's something like that in it. Look for something like that, and naturally will give you a little bit of a spark in your brain. But again, go back to things that just bring you joy. So you can go back to the childhood example, or maybe just find something that will give you a little bit of happiness. It could be painting, drawing. If you like to sing when you were younger, try to do that. Seriously, when you're stressed, we're going to talk about it like literally next, but singing is a great way to de-stress your body because it actually changes some things in your body. Like I said, sports, you can do puzzles, any way that you can like kind of do storytelling is kind of cool too. But yeah, basically just some sort of creative play with like no outcome attached. Like, you're not doing it to be productive, you're just doing it to be. That can really help reset. Now we're going to get into some more creative examples. I feel like the first 2 or 3 I gave you, I've mentioned in other episodes, but I got to come back to them. If it's true, I'm going to come back to them, okay? So I talked about singing a second ago. The next thing, number 3, is the idea of like music as medicine, because music can literally change your nervous system in minutes, and it's one of the easiest things to do in this list, because you can put music on while you're doing a million other things. It's easy to access music nowadays on our phones. Why did I say that like I was 50? It's like back in my day. But it's easy to put music on wherever you are, and it's a way to connect to something that's actually vibrational, and also a way to tie in your interest, because if you have a favorite singer or favorite genre, you can easily access it and throw it on, put it in your brain and listen to it. When we sing, we're creating vibrations in our body. So when you sing in different notes and different levels, you're creating those vibrations, and they kind of help your body vibrate a little bit higher. And when you sing, you're also stimulating your vagus nerve, which is in your throat. So vibrations from humming and singing, it turns on the vagus nerve, and it allows your body to relax. Because when the vagus nerve is activated, it tells your nervous system to be like, hey, we can calm down a little bit. Because when you're in like fight or flight mode, your body interprets it as you are in danger, because that's why we have that mode in our bodies from when we used to be like animalistic people and we were running away from threats and things. The last thing that you're doing when you're running away from a bear that's about to eat you, is singing ABBA, okay? So when you're singing, your body does not think that you're in a stressed out state. So when you're starting to sing and you're starting to like stimulate your vagus nerve, your body can relax, because it's one of those things that you're not doing when you're trying to fend for your life, unless you're in some weird Broadway production. But that's why when you sing and you make any sort of humming noise, you're not making those noises when your life is in danger, and your body can relax itself, because it's like, oh yeah, we're not fighting for our lives right now. We're not running away from something, we're singing. So that's why music literally, like, it is medicine in a way, because not only can you activate just general joyous feelings by listening to it, but when you're singing along to it, it calms your body down. So that's something I like to do, especially when you're in public. You can just hum. Like if you're somewhere where you don't really want to like burst out into like karaoke, you can hum and it still calms your body down for you, like when you're kind of like whistle while you work it. So that's a little tip. Obviously I feel my go-to when I'm feeling a bit like low on energy is try to put on a little bit of upbeat music or sing-alongs, like I just mentioned, to kind of give me like a quick boost. Another love of mine is like a static dance type music, so like the tribal feeling kind of music, or like those little like jungle beats. You can type in a static dance, and honestly, I'm gonna leave you like one or two playlists that I go to. I have to have a go-to playlist when I'm feeling a bit like, oh my god, like if I'm driving somewhere and I'm stressed, I have to put this type of thing on to like make me feel good. Or in the mornings if I'm feeling low, like it can really help. So I do have an ecstatic dance playlist. Like when I was living in Hawaii, like I went to a lot of ecstatic dances, and a lot of the music like is kind of like that. I think it's about like 2 hours long, so it's really nice. You can try to dance to it, but you can also just listen to it and like nod your head if you're not like into that, and I can guarantee you it'll make you feel a little bit better. I'll list that. My other like last resort girlies, if I'm in like I need to just like come back to some energy, Florence and the Machine and Enya, even though they're kind of different, but they're kind of not. They're both kind of witchy. Enya's really calming, but it still puts me in like a really good mood. Like if I'm low energy and I need like a little bit of an upbeat vibe, like Enya can get me there. And then Florence and the Machine, I don't know what it is, but I feel like really primal when I listen to her. So I'll leave like 2 playlists below. Yeah, and if you have any really cool playlists, honestly, share them with me. Like I can share them like via the podcast or maybe on Instagram. But if you ever want to like trade playlists that kind of get you hyped up, let me know. Because I was saying music is something that you can do really easily, like you can put it on while you're doing something else. My next tip is combining some of these habits. It's the concept of like habit stacking, and then applying them to these energy resets. So it kind of really amplifies the effect, and you make the most out of your time, okay? So you'll be surprised what you can combine things with. So you can walk and go outside in nature and listen to an audiobook. You can try to read too. I've just never tried that, like I didn't want to fall. So give an audiobook a go, something that's going to keep your mind busy, and then something that's going to move your body. And again, I'm going to talk about physical and mental in a little bit, and how they're 2 different things. There are 2 different ways to kind of reset your energy. So when you're doing something physical and something mental together, like it's a really like 2 for 1. You could also change it up and do a walk with a podcast. Cough, cough, this one. Just saying. Also, speaking of cough, I don't know if you've noticed, but my voice is really fried. I literally have a cold, and I said the word cough and I almost coughed, like for real. I've been holding it in the entire time I've been recording, so I should get an award for this one. I'm on like almost 20 minutes without coughing. Another thing we can do is stretch while you listen to music. So again, we're taking mental and we're taking physical and combining them. You could read while taking a bath, because bathing in general, you can do Epsom bath salts to like relax your body, or do magnesium flakes, but a bath is a physical thing, and sometimes these physical sensory things can help your body really relax while you're also stimulating your mind in a very calm, low way, with like journaling, a book, or listening to like a podcast or something like that. You don't need to multitask everything, but I'm just letting you know that you can combine these different tasks together and they can feel very restorative. Now we're gonna get a little woo-woo, and this is like my favorite part of the episode, so lock in, guys. It's actually not really woo-woo. I gotta give myself that disclaimer, because these are just like natural things. We're talking a lot about the earth here, so we are really wired to respond to the elements. In the last episode, I was talking all about how in the winter time we naturally are inclined to kind of slow down and go inward, and how society these days just wants us on this 24/7 cycle where we're go, go, go all year long, no matter what. But we're wired to connect to elements. And sometimes we have preferences. So you might feel most alive around different elements than other people. So we're going to talk about the 4 elements: sun, water, earth, air. And you may also notice you might be craving an element that you've been lacking, okay? So in general, the idea of the sun has to do with warmth, In the winter, it's always nice to feel warm because we're lacking that. So leaning towards saunas, sitting in the sun lamps, red light, going outside, getting heat on your skin, moving your body in ways that make you sweat, like hot yoga or just any exercise, could be something you're craving if you're like really cold or run down. It could be a great way to energize in the winter. But also, besides the winter, you might feel like drawn to the sun. If you have a lot of like earth in your chart, the sun might be something you need. The water element I mentioned before, we were talking about like Epsom baths, like baths or swimming, taking a shower and letting things cleanse off of you, or spending time near the ocean, breathing in the salt air can be a way to tap into the water element. And all of these elements, like I said, you could want them, you could be kind of lacking one of them, maybe not too drawn to it, but would you like to try it out and see how it feels? But these are just all part of the natural world, and connecting with the earth will help you. Going back to our first point, earth in general, like going outside, being in the forest, feeling grass, walking barefoot if you're somewhere where you can do that and it's not like icicle grass right now. Air, breath work, tapping into the idea of breathing and using air as an element to calm and restore the body. Going outside for fresh air, or even infusing your air, so doing like essential oils or certain like natural sprays, or bringing smoke like incense. So there's going to be things like throughout that list, maybe there are one or two things that I said that you were like, ooh, that's my thing. And then there were other things where you're like, I hate that. I hate that. I don't like doing that. Just rule of thumb, lean into anything that makes your body say yes and that you really enjoy. I guess this topic also, I've been really into learning. I don't know everything about these topics, but I'm really interested in them, like traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. In those two sciences, the elements are used a lot to represent parts of a whole. Like, we're all connected to the world. The life force that moves through the earth is the same life force that moves through you, is like the very similar concept between those two things. And the elements are used to represent parts of that big whole, that big circle. So they talk a lot about being balanced and unbalanced. So if you're like leaning a little bit more one way, you can explore all those different elements on the other side to kind of balance you out. So like I was saying, in the winter when it's cold, an example in like Ayurveda is like doing, and Chinese medicine too, is like doing things to warm you. And then in the summer, you do things to kind of cool you down. So that can be the ingredients you're taking in. So you take in more like warming foods, like ginger and teas that have that type of quality, or like cooked vegetables, things that your body takes in that's warm and easily digestible because it's cold and it's moving slow. And then in the summer, when you're really hot, you want to do things that cool you down, like more relaxing types of like yoga and movement, and taking foods that are like full of water and cool energy. So these are just like fun ideas to play with regardless. And if you want to take the elements a little bit further, this next part is a little bit about astrology and kind of like what your sign might need. So this one's really optional, but honestly it's kind of fun. It's a little bit accurate too, so let me know if I read you, because I'm just going to quickly go through the signs and ways that you can recharge through kind of what your signs represent, and kind of moving into that element theme as well. And yeah, I'll just briefly go through them. I don't want to spend like forever on it, but it's fun, okay? So this is for your sign. This can be your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising, or all three if you want to hear it out. So for example, Sagittarius, you may associate it with like being adventurous and like a wisdom seeker and wanting to learn more. So Sagittarius usually often like recharges through the idea of adventure, and adventure can be on a big scale or a small scale, almost the idea of novelty. So try learning something new, or like planning a trip or a weekend trip, or trying to learn about a new topic even while you're at home, like get a book that interests you, or even just changing up your routine can kind of feel like you're plugging back into life, because that tends to light up Sagittarius. And I'm a Sagittarius rising, so I really relate to this, and I found this out like a while ago, and I started leaning into it a bit more, and it's so true. Like whenever I change up my routine or just do something different, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, that's why life is worth living again, and I get excited. Leo is a very expressive sign, very dramatic. They always associate Leo with being like theater and all of that type of thing, like showy in a fun way, but Leos like thrive on fun and play and expression. So finding ways to like move your body, or however you express yourself through like art, creating content, dressing up, changing up your makeup, changing up your hair and clothes, like laughing with friends is a very simple thing, but that's something that brings you joy. Or like I said, the childlike things that light you up, bringing them back into your life is a great way if you have Leo in your chart to kind of add in that fun and that playful element. On the other hand, Capricorn is a little bit more structured and likes to accomplish things. So you may find a little bit of joy, a little bit of a reset in organizing some space, like cleansing your space, clearing things out, mapping out something, planning something, or just like decorating your planner, something like that. Making a nice to-do list can give you a little bit of clarity and a little bit of power over your days and things. So trying to lean into maybe that more structured element. Like you can still find play and fun with structure in a sense. Cancer is a water sign. It's also associated with a bit being emotional. I know we talk about that, but it's true. Like emotional safety and comfort might be something that a Cancer needs. So finding like cozy environments or home time, focusing on cooking like nourishing meals might be really energizing, or spending time journaling, getting your emotions out. That can also be done by dance or expressive things, or even connecting with somebody just to like let it all out that you trust can help like refill you in a way. Virgo is kind of like Capricorn in the sense that it's an earth sign. It likes a little bit of power, a little bit of structure, and like similar to Capricorn where it does like to have that, like I said, structure and like accomplishment. Virgo is a little bit more, I don't know how to, I mean it in a nice way, because I love Virgo women. They like to bring order when there's no order, you know? So like I said, tidying, decluttering, planning, working with nature, like caring for plants or maybe getting a new plant might be something fun to explore as well. And like ways that you can ground. So grounding practices, going outside, grounding in your room can help calm the nervous system and restore energy as well. So if there's anything that you find that's like really grounding, that might be great for Virgos. Now Pisces, back on the water sign, very deeply energized by creativity and the idea of escape. And it can be like a mental escape or a physical escape. So again, music, tapping into that music element, meditation and like visualization is a really great way to reset and kind of bring your mind back to things that you want to do and accomplish, or things that you'd like to like play around with in your head. Art and the water element are really good. So watercolor can be something that's really fun. Taking baths, any type of expressive art. It could be like literally iPad art, like drawing on something. It's going to allow you to soften and like drift away a little bit. And that kind of calms you down naturally because you lean towards those things. And Aries is more about being moving in something physical. So moving into your physical body, taking action on things. So a workout might be a way to blow off some steam, or walking. Or if you literally just want to like impulsively clean, do something else impulsive or physical. It's like a shaking, like shake off of stagnated energy. I literally feel like I'm giving you guys like this crazy reading right now because I'm just like pulling all these things. I'm like, what, like I'm trying to like embody each sign as I'm like saying it out. So based on like the list of things I said before, if any of them kind of relate to you, yeah, take it and go with it. But yeah, Aries is just, I feel it's like a really physical thing. Like they need a physical moving to get through that like energy reset. Meanwhile, Taurus is also kind of physical, but more in like the sense way, like noticing all of your senses. So things that can stimulate your senses, like good food, a warm bath, like feeling temperatures, going outside in nature because it's an earth sign, something comforting, like putting on comfy clothes or relaxing in a comfortable space, or looking at beautiful environments. You can even put on like a YouTube ambiance to bring that like beautiful environment to you. Putting things in the air like essential oils, or getting like a massage oil or something on yourself. It's going to bring energy back into the physical. Now, Gemini likes to come alive through like connection, stimulant, things that are going to energize like the senses too, kind of like Taurus, but also people. So talking things out with other people, or same thing as I mentioned for who did I mention was learning things new, like learning something new or putting something new in front of you as like a challenge. Like that's the same thing with Gemini. Stimulation. So we're talking more mental. So we're moving out of the physical and we're moving back into like the mental brain. So doing something that's going to keep your head busy, or socializing might do that. You can even switch environments and feel a little bit more energized. And Libra is a little bit more about beauty. The idea of being very beauty and being very beauty. I don't know what I just said there, but I meant like just taking in beautiful things, which is again kind of similar to Taurus. So going somewhere aesthetic, or making your room a little bit more aesthetic, wearing some clothes that make you feel that way, taking in art, creating art, taking in music, watching music videos, like gentle movement, things that are going to be a little bit more in the senses. So like yoga or like Tai Chi or like ecstatic dance can be a really great way as well. Or just like one-on-one time and like tapping into that sense of like communication is something that can really work. Now, Scorpio is the opposite. They don't want to see anybody. They want more depth and more privacy. So like alone time might be something that would be really good to retreat. And it's a mix of things that can be physical and things that can be mental. So like journaling and doing like shadow work might be something, or a workout where you're just so in your body so that you're present, and it can really help recharge you. And then finally, Aquarius. It's going to be similar to kind of the Pisces, and the idea of like ideas and inspiration, like visioning things or visualization type of meditations can really help keep your mind focused. Going outside and being inspired by what you see, and maybe starting some projects or working on art, moving your body, dancing. So the different signs just tend to recharge in different ways, and you could have related to any of these. Like, they didn't literally have to be your sign. I just love to go into it because it's fun. So instead of forcing yourself to like rest in a way that doesn't feel restful, you can lean on to something that kind of naturally lights you up, is really what I want you to take from that section. And we'll circle back to this at the end. We have 2 more little points to go through before the final like closing thought about physical and mental practices, which maybe now that I'm doing this episode, I probably should have just started with that, but whatever, anticipation, like I said, you'll be excited to get there. So the next thing is meditation and breath work. I've mentioned it a bunch of times in the last section, but not all meditation is super calming or puts you to sleep. Sometimes meditation can be a little bit energizing, and you can use breath work to help energize you as well. These practices really fill you up. You can think about the air outside of you as like energetic, and you're breathing in that fresh air and then physically like somatically releasing any stagnant energy. So there's a few breathwork practices and meditation practices that can help reset your body and your mind and just kind of help you feel really good. Breath of fire is a good one. I mean, I feel like if you look this up, that would be the first one that comes up. Personally, I think it's like super energizing, and sometimes when you need like a little reset, you don't need like a crazy amount of energy. Like, you don't need to like run a marathon. And I feel like breath of fire is really energizing, and it might relate to you and it might not. So it's a practice where you're going to breathe in really deeply through your nose, and then you exhale really powerfully through your nose. Like I said, I'm kind of sick, so maybe I shouldn't do that over the microphone. But you're taking really sharp inhales and sharp exhales for like a minute, and then you pause and you let your breath go back to normal and notice how that feels. And the rapid inhales send oxygen to your brain really quickly, so it actually does wake up the senses a lot more. You could energize by doing a more calming breath, like the box breath visualization, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, just like you're tracing the edges of a box. Even though that's known to calm you down, that is still a way to energize your body and reset, because when you're calm and you're depleted, that might be what you need. So that's a good one too. You can work on a sun salutation breath, which is just the idea of linking breath to movement. So doing yoga poses, but breathing in as you move into one part of the pose and then breathing out as you move into another part of the pose. I taught this one this week. The breath of joy is a really fun one. You basically take 3 inhales, and you're doing it standing if you can. You can also do it seated, but you're moving your arms with the inhale. So you inhale once and like lift your arms up over your head. And then you inhale the second time and you bring your arms out to a T. And then you bring your arms back up over your head as you breathe in again. So it's kind of like, I like to do it like you're conducting an orchestra. So you're moving your arms up, out, and up. And then after that last up, you bend your knees and you just like forward fold and you exhale all the air out, like, so you go, and you like bend your knees and like you're almost like throwing the air down. And it really is one of those super powerful things. And it's known as the breath of joy because you get a boost of energy. So those are some breathwork practices that you can try, a mix of energizing ones, like physically energizing by sending sharp inhales, but also some slower breath works that might energize you as well. Now, I created a meditation while writing this episode because I'm like so into this topic lately, and I thought it'd be nice to do it. It doesn't have the 4 things we just talked about. it doesn't have those breath works in it, but it does have like a nice concoction of things that I've been doing these. So I put them into a meditation for you, and it's linked below. It's free. The main focus is like it's a 10-minute reset. It kind of takes into some of the things we were talking about in this episode. It's calming, but it's energizing. You focus on kind of breathing into your own energy and then using your subconscious to kind of rewire your mood in the feelings in your body in a very relaxed way. So this meditation is kind of like a sneak peek of the content that's coming inside the Glow and Flow Hub, which will be launching in a few weeks in February. So this is kind of like a little gift, a little sneak peek for the listeners. And again, it's linked in the bio, not the bio, but the description right now. So if you want to go download it as you listen, you totally can. It'll just take you to a web page where you can get it and keep it forever. And I'll remind you at the end of the episode too. So don't forget, guys, it's so good. I put a lot of time into it, so I hope that it's a nice takeaway from this episode because I'm listing a lot, so I figured it'd be good to just have one thing that you can lean on and see if you like it as well. So the last thing I want to mention is eating food, because we talk about holistic wellness on this show, and energy isn't just like a spiritual thing, it's like a physical thing. Eating very grounding, nourishing foods help your system stabilize. So just in general, trying to eat more whole foods will help your body. It'll help your mind recalibrate after a day because it has like nourishment to pull from and it can move it around your body. So especially if you feel like you don't have a lot of time in a day to do these resets, you can consciously do it through your food choices. You know, we are what we eat. And I see food as kind of like a tool for nourishment. So it's a great way if you can start your day with something or pack some like a healthy snack with you. You could think about fresh fruits, things that were like outside in the sun, taking in nature. They're going to be really good for you. So fruits or like root vegetables, things that are in season. I always like to post on Instagram what fruit and vegetables are in season. So you can always check out my Instagram to see and kind of eat with the seasons. You can also look it up. It's like the information's out there, but it's just like a nice way to kind of work with the cycles and the elements and incorporate that into it as well. Drinking warming drinks like tea or tea with I literally couldn't think of an example. I was like, what's a warm drink? Sometimes I'm just like spitting out so much information that like I'm like, I don't remember what I was supposed to say. Like I knew where I was going when I like mentally thought this out. But yeah, tea's a warm drink. So things that are going to help relax you in any sense. Warm drinks tend to do that. You can also find yourself drinking something cold and refreshing if it's what you're craving. But just thinking about meals that feel really supportive, you know, instead of heavy or rushed. When you can, I'm not saying all the time, I'm just saying it's a good thing to think about because like I said, food nourishes you and it can really have a nice impact on your mental and physical health. So to wrap this up, listed a whole bunch of things. The next part, I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this, but I feel like it's changed a lot for me. So sometimes the exhaustion that you're going through or the energy depletion can be in your mind. Like your mind is just over it. You have so much you're thinking about in your day, or sometimes it's in your body, like your physical body. So circling back to the beginning of the episode, and I told you the first thing to do is just kind of pause and notice if it feels more mental, where you feel it in your body. Just try to pinpoint if it's a mental kind of clutter issue or if it's like a physical tiredness issue. Then you can work with ways to get like really specific with that energy. Because like sometimes if your mind is going nuts and you try to sit in stillness or sit in the sauna, like your mind is still going to be going nuts. You're just going to be like really hot and sweaty on top of it. So same thing when your body's like is in a physical state. So I tried to think of some ways that you can lean on for your mind and some for your body. So if your mind feels really like overactive, again, that's too much thinking or too much chatter going on, we can work with some mental practices to kind of calm the mind. One of them can be reading. Again, we just want to take our mind away from these things in a sense. So reading, podcasts, audiobooks are good because they're low effort. Like you can still get a story and a concept in your head without having to sit there and focus. Journaling, puzzles, or if you're going to do like a meditation, doing something that has directive. So instead of just sitting there and trying to count your thoughts, which is great, I'm not saying not to do it, but I'm just saying like I like to lean on these practices. So intention setting or something you can focus on, like where to move next, like where can I redirect my energy next, or body scans. So you're focused on your body, you're present, but you're just shifting your attention to different parts of your body. It might be better than trying to focus on your breath if you're like in a really cluttered mind state. I just find that these really help like quiet the mental noise so that your energy can kind of circulate again. Now, if your body feels really dull or drained, You might need movement or an environmental change. So that can be dancing, it can be walk. A lot of the things are things we mentioned, but like walking, moving your body, going to a sauna, like a temperature change, a bath of sorts. You can do a lot with a bath. You can add magnesium to your bath to help nourish your body in that way. You can change the room that you're working in or hanging out in. You can just shift your physical surroundings. It's all about movement, okay? So energy loves movement. If you can move the energy around physically, it's another way that you can kind of like switch it up. So I hope that these tips really helped you, and they kind of remind you that you don't need to do a big full reset every time you feel low. You just kind of need to recognize, okay, hold on, what's going on and where can I kind of plug back in? So let it be a reminder to you that like you have more control than you think, and recharging doesn't have to be like a full week-long retreat or a day off. Like it can be daily, and it can be fun little choices that you make. And when you make things fun, you're going to want to do them more. So that's why I like to lean on the astrology things or the elements, like tapping into that stuff. It makes life more whimsical, and then I do it, and then I feel good, and I'm fun. So it's a win-win. And before we wrap things up, I just want to remind you of that free energy meditation that I created. You could use it as a daily reset. Again, it's only about 10 minutes long. It's simple, it's very relaxing, but it's still energizing. So it's perfect when you feel drained, but you don't want to do anything, but you kind of need to recharge. And it ties in all of these topics. And this meditation is also a sneak peek of the work that's coming inside the Glow and Flow Hub, which is planning to launch at the last week of February. So if you sign up for the free meditation through the link below, you'll also get to stay up to date on the Glow and Flow Hub launch when you do it. And finally, the last little thing is merch is live. It's also linked below. So I designed some nature-inspired artwork. There's a lot of the different colors and different fun things you can look at. They have positive quotes on them. So we got hoodies, tote bags, and crew necks. And again, I link them below. They're kind of like a wearable version of the Happy Hippie podcast to remind you of life's joys and your own growth, as well as inspiring other people who are going to see you in the hoodie. So it's like a win-win. Thank you so much for tuning into the Happy Hippie podcast. If today's episode inspired you at all, don't forget to follow the show. Share it with somebody who could use a little extra sunshine in your day. And that's it. I didn't cough, guys. I didn't cough this whole episode. I'm holding it in. You ever see the picture of the seal and it looks like it's crying? And it's like when you're in class and you've already coughed like 5 times and you can't cough again, so you're holding it in. That's me. That's what I've been like this whole episode. But thank you so much for being here. And thank yourself for being interested in your own development and your own self-growth. A little pat on the back. And yeah, I'll see you next time.